In recent years, I have completely bought the argument that we should reclassify aging as a disease. Kind of looks like a disease, kind of acts like a disease. If there were a pill to treat it, you would take it. But recently, there was a philosophy paper out that made the argument that we should not classify aging as a disease. The Harvard researcher David Sinclair recently broke this down on X. Let's go through the arguments. Here are 4 arguments from the paper about why it may do more harm than good. First argument, labeling aging a disease could fuel ageism. Employers already assume older adults are less capable. The disease label may reinforce stereotypes and discrimination. Okay, maybe fine, but that's not doing too much for me, I'm afraid. Argument number 2, it could also harm health through belief. If people internalize that aging is a disease, they may expect decline, give up on prevention, and suffer worse outcomes. I'm sure there might be some people that fall into this, but it seems kind of intuitive to me that if you have a disease, you want to treat it, right? Aging already is decline. We expect decline. It's aging. The definition doesn't change our expectations in this sense. And number 3, it can empower doctors at the patient's expense. Medicalizing aging risks undermining patients' voice and consent. Is that a good argument? Maybe. Like number 2, this also seems very speculative and kind of nebulous and kind of vague. Also, I feel like aging already is medicalized to a lot of degrees, right? Maybe not aging itself, but all the different things that cause aging, they're very highly medicalized already. Why not just medicalize the umbrella thing to simplify it all? Number 4, calling aging a disease doesn't actually help science. Neuroscientists can and do study aging's mechanisms without the label. The risks outweigh the benefits. I could see this as an actual argument. If this is true, if it wouldn't actually do any good, then why bother? But then again, these risks, they don't seem too severe to me. Not the ones that have been laid out here. Now let's see how people respond to this. If we don't call it a disease, we won't focus on causes and treatments. Calling it a disease is a first step to making people want to treat it. Calling aging a disease isn't about fear, it's about power. Power to fund research, drive innovation, and treat decay as treatable. If we don't label it, we accept it. And that's not wisdom, it's surrender in disguise. Kind of how I feel. It's kind of like my default assumption too. So it's a disease, but we don't want to hurt its feelings? Pretty good. Wait, does anybody here agree with the article? Of course, these are all followers of David Sinclair. Here's someone who says, if it's universal, it's not a disease. Aging as a disease implies that you could be disease-free, but you can't. Okay, I get this, but at the same time, this is why we want to classify it as a disease, to change that assumption. It's the most lethal disease. Aging is a disease. The FDA is not going to budge unless we call it a disease. It's strategic. I disagree on all 4 points. To pull back just a little bit, I do think there are very good reasons why aging should be classified as a disease. Consider, for example, here's an editorial from Frontiers in Genetics. This is from 2015. It is time to classify biological aging as a disease. This paper makes some good arguments. Okay, what is considered to be normal and what is considered to be a disease is strongly influenced by historical context. Homosexuality was considered a disease as recently as 1974. In addition to the social and cultural influence on disease definitions, new scientific and medical discoveries lead to the revision of what is a disease and what is not. Fever was once seen as a disease. Also consider how several currently recognized diseases, such as osteoporosis, hypertension, and senile Alzheimer's, were in the past described as normal aging. Osteoporosis was only officially recognized as a disease in 1994 by the WHO. They also give the example of obesity, which was only recently classified as a disease, and they write that to target an issue such as obesity, categorizing it as a disease makes the road to developing treatment a much easier one to take. This is the basic summary of the argument. Not only does aging lend itself to be characterized as a disease, but the advantage of doing so is that by rejecting the seeming fatalism of the label natural, it better legitimizes medical efforts to either eliminate it or get rid of those undesirable conditions associated with it. And from the conclusion, our current healthcare system doesn't recognize the aging process as the underlying cause for the chronic diseases affecting the elderly. And as such, the system is set up to be reactionary, and therefore about 32% of the total Medicare spending in the United States goes to the last 2 years of life of patients with chronic diseases without any significant improvement to their quality of life. Okay, now this is what I want to focus on. 32% of total Medicare spending goes to the last 2 years of life. 32%. So I have not spent any time trying to make the case that aging is bad. It just is bad, and we all know that, and nobody likes to age, and we all fight against it in our own lives at some level. But society needs to fight against it too, and this is the broader point. Okay, let's just look at a couple of fun numbers. This is from the CDC and how much we spend to prevent age-related diseases. Cancer. By 2030, 240 billion. Diabetes. In 2022, the total estimated cost of diagnosed diabetes was 413 billion in medical costs and lost productivity. Obesity, 173 billion a year. Alzheimer's, 1 trillion by 2050. Now let's hop over to this article on Nature. Nature.com. There's this article from 2001 titled "The Economic Value of Targeting Aging." From the abstract, we show that a slowdown in aging that increases life expectancy by 1 year is worth $38 trillion, and in 10 years, 367 trillion. Ultimately, the more progress that is made in improving how we age, the greater the value of further improvements. Going back to the recent philosophy paper, the 4 arguments laid out for why aging should not be a disease seem a little bit wishy-washy, and they seem like they're just not that compelling of arguments, particularly as they're laid out as harms, but they just don't seem that harmful. Whereas the benefits seem to me that if aging is a disease, then, as these other articles have stated, you want to find a cure for that, and there will be an impetus to fund the research to find the cure rather than just assuming, oh, it's inevitable. We're going to age inevitably, and there's nothing we can do about it. So yes, this recent philosophy article is a nice try. You always want to consider the harms of any action in a medical context, but in this case, I don't think the harms outweigh the benefits. And David Sinclair, thank you for raising this important issue. Now, please get back to work and make us all young and beautiful.